Our new anime begins with Harudo, who became a shut-in for 5 years after being bullied at school. Then suddenly, a flash of light occurs, and a goddess welcomes him to heaven. She carefully chooses Harudo to be reincarnated since he died in his room. The goddess is about to reincarnate him into a magical world. So, she blesses him with a set of overpowered skills. Thinking back on his boring life, Harudo wants to enjoy this new one, and thus he is reincarnated into a royal family as the first prince named Riard. His father is King Jilk, and his mother is a hero named Galt who defeated the Demon King. However, when the court mage performs a magic aptitude test, they see that Harudo is only at level 2, with just barrier magic and no elemental magic. This would be considered a disgrace to the king and the hero if the public found out that their newborn is weak. So, his own father and mother order their servant to silently dispose of Harudo, considering him trash. The goddess observes the situation and becomes worried. She tells her friend that she granted Harudo a level of 1002. But this world's level measuring device won't go above 2 digits. Moreover, she forgot to give him an elemental power. As a result, Harudo is thrown away into the woods. This goddess is a bit of a knucklehead. Anyway, in the woods, Harudo recalls the barrier magic that the mage mentioned. So, he imagines it, and the barrier appears. He can also freely change its format at will, so he uses the barrier on himself to fly up into the sky. Harudo is pleased with his powers because they don't even burn a little bit of his mana. Then Harudo lifts the whole area out from the ground, and the wolf realizes she's totally screwed. She surrenders to him, but Harudo thinks his ears are ringing. Harudo still proceeds, and then the lady wolf speaks, surrendering a second time. Harudo realizes it was her speaking. Harudo introduces himself and explains to her that his father, the king, threw him away for having weak mana. But the wolf lady named Flaw can see that Harudo has an enormous amount of mana that easily surpasses human limits. Seeing this, Flaw mistakes Harudo for being a demon king, and Harudo goes along with her imagination, saying that he was a demon king in his previous life. Flaw waits for her punishment of death for trying to kill Harudo, but Harudo shows generosity and spares her life. He uses his barrier to create a telepathic link between them to transfer their thoughts. Then a man arrives claiming to be Harudo's relative. He came to save him and take him in. But Flaw claims that Harudo is her master, so he belongs to her. His name is Gold, and he offers some milk for Harudo, but Flaw refuses. Gold tells her that he lost his first child during childbirth and Harudo was abandoned because he was weak. He wanted to save him because it doesn't matter to him if he's weak. He believes every child should have a chance to live. Hearing his backstory, Flaw bursts into tears out of sympathy. Seeing her reaction, Gold offers to take her in as well. They come to a deal and Flaw agrees to his offer. Gold then breaks Harudo's basket to fool everyone into thinking Harudo died. With that, Harudo is adopted by Gold and his wife Natalia. 9 years go by, and in that time, Harudo gets a little sister named Charlotte. However, it's clear she doesn't like him. Instead, she loves Flaw and wants to play with her. But Flaw disagrees, as she needs to help Harudo. Harudo asks Flaw to go with Charlotte, and she agrees. Natalia tells Harudo that Charlotte is perhaps shy around him because he's a boy but is carefree when she's with Flaw. Natalia wants Harudo to be social, since he's the heir of their family and suggests he do something special for Charlotte to bond with her. However, Harudo is planning to leave home once he comes of age. He even made a clone with a barrier, but it doesn't move or talk. If he were to go off on his own, naturally Flaw would follow him. And if that happens, Charlotte would hate him for her entire life. Then Gold calls Harudo out to the yard because he wants to train him in swordsmanship, since Harudo has the lowest amount of mana. Harudo knows he won't get away from it. Also, Gold is a seasoned warrior at the top-notch level, nicknamed Earth-Shattering Warhammer. So Harudo uses a barrier on himself to make up for his lack of physical strength. When Harudo tries to strike, Gold sees the powerful attack and dodges it in time because it's powerful enough to put a dent in the ground. Gold is surprised to his core. However, Harudo still thinks that he's at level 2 because when he tested himself, his level showed as 002. But even with that level, he can do anything he wants with his barrier magic, even if he lacks elemental power. Later that night, Natalia notices that Gold is lost in thought. Gold tells Natalia that he trained Harudo today, but after seeing his powers, he thinks Harudo might be a reincarnation of a demon. There are records that one of the royal family members got involved with a demon, so it could be possible that Harudo has demon traits in him. Since the demon wolf Flaw considers him her master, it could be possible. However, both Gold and Natalia don't care and want Harudo to live a normal and happy life. While everything seemed to be going fine, one day, Harudo heard a commotion outside. He saw through his surveillance barrier that his father's army had been seriously wounded by attackers. Harudo rushed to his father, and Gold told him it was the work of thieves who had attacked them out of the blue. Flaw blamed Gold for his incompetence, which put Harudo in a bad mood. He healed almost all the wounded soldiers with his barrier magic, but didn't tell anyone he had done so. Later that night, when Harudo woke up to answer nature's call, he saw Flaw standing outside his room. Harudo realized she was still upset because he had gotten angry at her earlier. She looked cute. Harudo apologized for losing his temper, and then he and Flaw went outside. He used his surveillance barrier to locate the thieves who had attacked Gold and his army. Fortunately, one of his cameras spotted them, so Harudo quickly used his barrier to fly himself and Flaw to their location. Incidentally, Charlotte saw them flying away. At the thieves' hideout, some soldiers were involved with them. Unfortunately for them, Harudo arrived, taking down their guards. He quickly froze the thieves with his barrier magic, and when one of them tried to speak nonsense, Harudo made an example out of him. After tying them up, the captain of their group told Harudo that they were soldiers of the neighboring empire infiltrating to cause chaos. They even had a mole working for them, helping them pass the borders of the empire. That was all they knew. Harudo realized that someone more influential than Gold must be behind this plan. The attackers begged for their lives, but Harudo ordered Flaw to burn down the entire fort as he couldn't spare those who had attacked his father. Flaw burned it all down. Now the matter at hand was to find out why the Imperial soldiers were involved in attacking his father. For the time being, Harudo sent an anonymous letter to inform Gold about this. He mentioned the mole at the border and how he had taken down the thieves and their fort. Somehow Gold also suspected the involvement of the Imperial family. Meanwhile, Charlotte wanted to know who had helped them. Gold suspected Flaw given she was a demon, and a powerful one at that. But Charlotte remembered seeing Harudo and Flaw flying. She asked Flaw, thinking there were two Harudos. When she saw Harudo flying, she ran to his room but found him sleeping like a log. However, she couldn't sense Harudo's overwhelming mana while he was asleep. Flaw was impressed that Charlotte could sense Harudo's mana, and very few people could do that. Charlotte wanted to know more about Harudo's powers, but Flaw kept silent. Charlotte later told Harudo about this, and he started setting up more surveillance barriers to keep an eye on her movements as he wanted to hide his powers from her. For several days, Charlotte kept following Harudo whenever he tried to sneak out, spying on him. Finally, on the seventh day, the situation reversed, and Harudo was the one keeping an eye on her. Natalia and Charlotte were about to go on a trip. Harudo suddenly received an alert from the barrier he had placed around Charlotte, indicating they were in danger. Their carriage was attacked by Imperial soldiers. Natalia fled to save Charlotte, blocking their magic attacks, but one spell hit her leg. Harudo communicated with Charlotte through a barrier spell, guiding her to safety. Natalia noticed someone was guiding Charlotte, but didn't question it. However, their escape led them to a high cliff. Even so, Natalia jumped off and landed roughly. Charlotte pointed out a cave where they could hide. Natalia took her inside and saw it was filled with luminous plants. She told Charlotte she would go out to find the hero who would help them reach the cave, and asked Charlotte to stay hidden. Just as Natalia left, the cave was covered by an illusion spell, and the attackers found her. Natalia considered ending her life rather than being captured. But her dagger was shattered into pieces and an electric shock knocked her out. Harudo arrived just in time, furious that these men had harmed his mother. With a single command, he sent them flying away. He brought Natalia into the cave, asking Charlotte to look after her. She stopped him and asked if he was the hero who saved people and punished sinners. Harudo hesitated, as it was such a childish question, but eventually he went along with it and accepted the role of a hero, asking her to keep it a secret. After cleaning up the mess, Harudo returned home and Gold got the news of their situation. He wanted to thank the mysterious hero who had saved them. Gold then asked Harudo about the incident, but Harudo remained calm, not worried about the Imperial soldiers, which Gold believed. Natalia and Charlotte then returned home, and Gold was relieved to see them safe. For the first time, Charlotte showed affection for her older brother, shocking both of her parents. She kept it a secret that Harudo was the one who had helped them. As episode 3 starts, Charlotte now goes to Harudo every day to play with him, and Harudo doesn't dislike it, especially seeing her cuteness. However, Charlotte gets drawn to his surveillance screen and thinks it's ancient magic. Harudo explains that it's hard to learn ward magic without proper information. Charlotte then takes Harudo to the castle's library, and he realizes for the first time that their castle has a library. Charlotte picks up a few books on ancient magic like a real librarian because their mother Natalia and Flaw always read these books to her. Since she can't read herself, she sits on Harudo's lap to read the book, but Harudo tells her to sit beside him on a chair. However, Charlotte is used to sitting on Flaw's or her mother's lap while reading. Harudo begins reading the book and discovers that gods can travel between worlds similar to the anime he used to watch in Japan. Hearing this, Charlotte becomes excited and wants to know more about anime. Harudo tries to explain that it would be difficult for her to understand, but she insists. So Harudo simply explains that anime is like moving pictures. Seeing Harudo's enthusiasm, Charlotte wants to see anime as well. Harudo is swayed by her cuteness, and after 2 weeks, she somehow brings Google into this world. Since there were many genres, Charlotte gets a bit confused, but she eventually chooses a magical girl anime and becomes instantly captivated by it. However, the anime is in Japanese, so she wants to learn the language even though she's still a child. Harudo goes along with it and teaches her the basics. She turns out to be a genius, mastering the language in just 2 hours, and soon she starts searching for word meanings on Google herself. 2 weeks pass in an instant, and Charlotte's love for anime grows fully, especially for zombie and Power Ranger type anime. Harudo doesn't want to let her watch anime all day long, but she looks so cute while enjoying her shows. However, it could affect her health. So, as a big brother, Harudo decides to be a bit strict. Since she's becoming an otaku, Charlotte wants to start another season of anime, but Harudo stops her, setting a ground rule of watching anime for only 3 hours a day, as it's not healthy for a kid to watch that much TV. This comes as a real shock to her. At dinner, Charlotte is dozing off, so Gold asks Harudo what she has been up to as she spends all her time with him. Charlotte quickly gets up to tell them that she's studying ancient magic with Harudo. After dinner, Charlotte continues to follow Harudo with her puppy dog eyes for more, but Harudo is firm about the 3-hour rule. She even tags along in the bath because she has nothing else to do besides watch anime. Typical attacker behavior. Charlotte notices Harudo's royal birthmark, but she has no idea it's a royal mark and instead thinks it's a hero's mark. Finally, when it's night, Charlotte is still sticking to him while their mother Natalia enjoys herself and supports Charlotte from afar. Then the day comes when Gold leaves to wipe out the remaining thieves, and Charlotte starts worrying about him. She wants Harudo to do something since he's the hero of justice. Harudo, once again swayed by her puppy dog eyes, gives in. She wants Harudo to transform like a hero, so he fulfills her wish by choosing the look of Lage Vibrantania. Charlotte wants to tag along as well, but Harudo refuses because it's dangerous. Seeing her sad, Harudo gives her a live surveillance feed which brightens her up. Harudo then finds those thieves and traps them with his barrier. It's way too easy. He confronts them to give Charlotte a live anime experience. After defeating them, Gold arrives and is hostile toward Harudo, asking for his name. Harudo, unable to come up with anything, names himself Still Pending. Honestly, it's the crappiest name and even Harudo knows it. Gold wants to know his motive, so Harudo has to go along with cheesy hero dialogue to make Charlotte happy. This cheesy hero Still Pending turns into an embarrassing reality with many unexpected heroic deeds. After a few days, Haruto successfully creates a working clone of himself, but it turns out to be nothing more than a perfect carbon copy. Charlotte, who happens to be there, is baffled at the sight of two brothers standing side by side. Soon after, Haruto and Charlotte are summoned because the crown prince and princess are visiting. Haruto already knows they are his blood siblings, but when Gold greets Princess Moran first, Prince Le takes it as a personal insult. He thinks being greeted second is a sign of disrespect. Arrogant and spoiled, Lee immediately starts lashing out. Gold apologizes, but Moran scolds her younger brother to mind his manners. Instead, Le lashes back, insulting Moran, his own elder sister, because he only sees her as a tool for political gain. Haruto can hardly believe this is what his royal parents have taught him. Lee then shifts his insults to Haruto, mocking him as Gold's adopted son and a mere level 2 weakling. Full of pride, he challenges Haruto to a duel in the yard, claiming he'll teach him a lesson. Haruto notices that Lei is already at level 9 and has the potential to max out at level 40. When the fight begins, Lei takes the first swing, but Haruto easily dodges. Infuriated, Lee shouts at him not to dodge, demanding that Haruto take his attacks. Haruto agrees, yet every strike bounces off his protective barrier. Frustrated beyond measure, Lee orders him to fight back. That's exactly what Haruto wanted. Seizing the chance, Haruto unleashes his counterattack and beats Lee down hard. Humiliated, Lee refuses to give up. Moran steps in, telling him to stop before he embarrasses himself further. But Lee, his pride shattered, hurls a fireball at Haruto. Calmly, Haruto cancels the spell. Moran warns him again, but Lee cries foul, insisting Haruto is cheating because only an intermediate mage could use magic absorb. Hearing that, Haruto smirks. He decides to prove a point by returning every fireball he absorbed, leaving no choice but to admit defeat. Afterward, Moran apologizes to Haruto for her brother's behavior. Haruto simply shrugs it off and takes his leave. As he walks away, he wonders if his royal mother and father are still secretly watching him. Then again, they had abandoned him once already for being weak. At this point, Haruto realizes that anything is possible. And with that, episode 3 comes to an end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates on my newly uploaded videos.